town of Ogden students.
Mark Travers, Steve Ford.
Deal Town Lacrosse.
Sue Everlato with the Caucus of Change and Northwest Parent Association.
Will Conway, County Lowell.
Jeff Shepherd, Town of Lowell.
Jan Eason, Michigan City Parks.
Aaron Morgan.
Richard Morrisville, City of East Chicago.
John Olmsted, Sherwood Parks.
Tanya Garland, National Park Service.
Okay, great. And in the audience, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Wally Wade. I use the bike trails and looking where are the launch points for kayaks. I got the,
Ken Davidson, Northwest Indiana Gazette.
Very good.
Wonderful, thanks everyone. Well, we have a great program today, but let's get started with just kind of working through the agenda. So, South Shore Trails, do we have
I don't have their rep here, and we can come back to them when they decide to show up.
So with that, if are you our presenter today? Okay.
I'm gonna give them a
wonderful.
little warm up. A few jokes, warm up the audience.
Okay, that was wonderful.
Okay, you can come up, Justin. Justin Keel, he is a councilman in the town of La Crosse, and that is in the very, kind of the southwest part of LaPorte County. And they've been doing some amazing things for a town of how many people?
551.
551. So it's gonna be the mantra, if La Crosse can do it, why not you? So with that said, here's Justin.
Okay, well, let's see, here to present our complete streets plan of Lacrosse. So skip the introductions. Why make this plan? Let's see. One of our main reasons for doing a complete streets plan in Lacrosse was INDOT is planning to repave the main highway through the town, which is US 421 in 2018. And when they do that, we thought it would be a great time to get some new sidewalks along the highway, because there's a lot of lacking sidewalks in that area. Lacrosse was once the intersection of many railroads. Today, many of those are abandoned, and they could make for a very good trail system with good connectivity to other towns too. NERC and other organizations have long-term plans for trails through Lacrosse, and a local plan kind of was needed to prepare and excite people for the idea of bringing trails into town, get them involved and feel like they have a part in how it works. And ultimately, the council wants to improve local quality of life. So some of our goals were to build new sidewalks along US 421 during the INDOT project, improve exercise opportunities for local residents, develop safe connectivity to the school and downtown, plan trails that would give the high school cross-country program a place to hold meets and practices, improve the quality of life, encourage investment in alternative transportation by local residents and businesses, and draft the whole plan at zero expense to the taxpayer, making it pretty crazy. So step one for us was R&D, which we call rip-off and
Yes,
duplicate.
he's learning.
Yeah.
He's learning.
Which, at this point, I'd like to give a big shout out to Town of Lowell, because you guys are basically our inspiration for this whole thing. Like, you're probably gonna look at this and like, wow, this seems familiar. So,
You should have copyrighted this.
too late now. So the R&D phase. We started the project by looking at other places, primarily Lowell. There are not a lot of places to cheat off of, so that would be, come on guys, you found it. Complete streets require an ordinance and a plan. We based our ordinance off of Lowell's complete streets policy. Our attorney looked it over, we made some changes, we looked at some other places, and we did the others. That part was pretty easy. From there, there were some small town obstacles. Lacrosse, population 551. We disbanded our planning commission a few years ago because we didn't have hardly any involvement. So, it was really a small group of, government people working on this. It's not big. But we felt it was important that this project originate from Plan Commission, so we revamped it and we appointed new members and we pitched the idea to them and got them started on it. Within about a month, they were good. They had made recommendations. We were helping push it and stuff. And by first week of August, we had approved the Complete Streets ordinance. So that part was a piece of cake. Now on to building the plan on the smallest budget ever seen. We like to do crazy stuff. Pretty early on, we realized we're going to need to design this in-house. And you're like, wow, your town has a design department. Not really. So my day job actually is I design newspapers and advertisements, so it turns out that makes me, I guess, qualified enough to design plans. So, and don't worry, I didn't get paid for this, no conflict of interest there. So it took about 3 months to put the plan together. The Planning Commission gave input, we talked to people in the community, and we got feedback and kind of built this plan basing off the other ones that we looked at. After the first draft was put together, the Planning Commission reviewed it again, made some sort of suggestions and revisions, and the following meeting we recommended the plan to the council. Here's some of the pictures of the plan that we cover, and that is a festival park in La Crosse there. We didn't just steal anyone's stuff in the picture. Here's our main vision for the plan. Just to, that's too small to read. So, here's a couple of the maps in the plan. This is the southwest corner of town. One of our main goals was to kind of create a loop system around the town so that people could kind of go around the loops and have like a mile route that they could walk if they were interested in doing such. So the dotted lines there represent that proposed trail there.
Can I ask, what is along, back to that, what is along that side, is there?
That is the old Monon Railroad bed, and so we've kind of identified that as a good place to, there's no development on it, it's really just woods. It is for the most part not overgrown, so it would be relatively
Is
simple
there
to.
houses coming off, or those streets coming off there?
Over here, there is a street, and there are houses coming off of here. So the back of the houses are, could connect to the trail if they chose.
And what's along the other,
This side here?
no, the other side? Well, that's the one.
That's the Monon, yeah.
And the other is 421.
Correct, and that's 421. And there's sidewalks that stop here, and then it just stops. So, and that's one of the areas we've identified for during the 421 project to, extend it to the rest of the town, so that those people.
And this is on the way to Francisville?
Correct, yeah. This is the northwest corner of town, not really many houses here, so not much to see. Here we have the northeast corner of town. One of the things that we were hoping to accomplish in the 421 project is to connect from here, where the sidewalk stops in 421, up to the ball fields out here. Currently, people have to walk onto the highway in order to get over the railroad bed there. There is an active railroad, so our goal is to have a sidewalk so that people don't need to be walking on the highway to get to the park. Not much else. This already is pretty well connected to the sidewalks. And the southern part of the town, it could be better than those later pointers. We have another proposed trail that would head out towards North Judson, who already has about 9 miles of trails that connects towards Winnemac. So our eventual goal is to connect into that network and extend the whole thing and possibly bring the American Discovery Trail into La Crosse. Right now it just kind of leaves through the country around us. Here's some more pages from this, quality improvements. We want to look into signage, bike or rest areas, places, benches, tables and stuff, bike racks, landscaping. All these things are very much lacking right now. With the exception of benches and picnic tables at businesses or like the library, there's not really much there. There's no waypoints. We came up with some phasing recommendations, pretty simple ones, just kind of guidelines to steer the Planning Commission and the Council in the right direction towards developing some of these things. And then we also wanted to implement a project to educate the public on biking more, walking more, what opportunities are available, how they can get involved, with the hopes of bringing more people into it. And step 3 was adopted. So in December, the council adopted the plan. We're now working with INDOT to incorporate more sidewalk work into the scope of the 421 project. We were recently awarded $20,000 in federal funds through NERC for engineering work for about a mile's worth of new or improved sidewalks. $40,000 in construction funds is also scheduled in a couple years. And the Planning Commission continues to meet about the implementation of the plan. So I think the key takeaways from this, what we found was that quick and inexpensive is possible. I mean, we did this in about 6 months' time. I mean, granted, we're a small town, so we can move quickly with these sort of projects, and, there's not lots of layers of bureaucracy or anything. Consultants also may not be necessary for small communities. Sorry, consultants. So this is something that if your community has someone who's still in design or is interested in this sort of thing, you may be able to implement it without needing to get funding for consultants. And third, a complete streets plan is a great way to get people excited about alternative transportation improvements. So now I'll open it up if there's any questions from people. If you guys are wondering about how we did it, or
Come on, not all at once.
I have a question. Do you have a style guide for some of the landscaping and, the benches and?
we do not yet.
Okay,
It's a good idea, though.
just curious. And I had another one.
Maybe
What's
she has one you can smell.
Yeah, do you have one? Is that what you have?
Oh, do we have one? No. We're working on it, though.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on having one. And did you have any resistance from any, especially people who have got the trail?
No, not really. Actually, one of the planning commission members owns the property that's along that trail, so I think she's open to the idea. Ultimately, I think people realize this isn't anything binding. It's not permanent. It's a vision for it. Visions don't always get built, and there will be plenty of chance for them to voice opinions as we go through the process. So I don't really think there was any resistance to it in that regard.
I have two quick questions and maybe follow up after that. You reference alternative transportation projects. What would those be in La Crosse? I can't.
Alternative transportation, we kind of defined as sidewalks, bike trails, kind of like off-road trails, that sort of thing. So alternative in that you could walk to the post
So
office.
primarily trails and sidewalks are what you think about when alternative transportation?
What's that?
Primarily trails and sidewalks? So,
Yeah,
okay,
primarily, yes.
okay. And in the ordinance, you reference a lot of different organizations. Can you explain a couple of those for us so that,
Which part are you looking at?
with, in section 6, design criteria and projects, there's about,
Okay, one of the things that we did was, Bowles plan was great at this. It gave lots of links and references to other materials that people could look at, to get ideas for their project. And so we did the same thing where we referenced it there so that if a council several years from now or whatever comes back and looks at it, they can find references to useful materials. So they don't have to go through the same process of hunting down those materials.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear about rest areas. One of the concerns, of course, is regarding accessibility and people with various kind of mobility devices to ensure that the length of the trail moves, rest stops, that sort of thing. It's signage for the blind and visually impaired. You have like a wayfinder kind of devices that would be incorporated into this.
That's a good question. First, going back to the rest areas for people with individuals with disabilities, we actually recently upgraded all of the park benches in Festival Park, making sure that we had enough space next to the benches so that someone could pull in a wheelchair there if they so please. For the blind and visually impaired, we actually haven't gotten to the signage stage where we would start looking at sort of things like that. But I'm glad that you pointed that out because that's definitely something to take into consideration.
I'll just mention one more thing again. First of all, thank you for taking the time to present. And I've been working with Complete Streets with communities, obviously at the regional level for many years, and it's just a glowing example of, it doesn't matter the size of the town, but it matters about the will. And this is a community that has a champion with Justin and has people that are getting on board with the issue, and it just doesn't matter where. You just have to have people that actually are concerned about this, and it will happen. So it's a great example. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, I encourage any of you guys, when next time you're traveling through La Crosse, to just take a stop and look around.
Don't blink.
Yeah, don't blink. It goes by fast.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to swing back to Don Parker, welcome, to talk
requested updates to the lights and trains setup that Nikki and Central are in the process of doing, and also involved with some advocacy on behalf of the Westlake Corridor project. So all the sort of things that we normally get involved with in terms of some public policy issues that we're kind of right now, and just planning for the vision.
So shall we move on to the presentation 2016 year in review?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Whoops, another person hit the monitor. Should have like a jar out. All right, yes, Happy New Year. It's time to look back. We had a very exciting year in our region last year, and I'm here to present the major projects that were taken on, that were open, and initiatives that we were able to champion here at Nerfy. So first of all, an overview. Yes, I'm a very happy man. Have scissors will travel. We opened 4 new trail extensions in our region. Not new trails, but extensions to existing trails, about 4 or 5 miles approximately. We had a repaving of an existing trail, which was a very exciting turn of events and unexpected. A new trailhead was opened with parking, a gateway feature on the trail was unveiled, a designation of a major waterway. Here at NERC, we were able to release the revised map of the region and a new wayfinding guide. So now I'm going to get into details on what this all means. Let's talk about Marquette Greenway and the opening of the project in Hammond, Indiana. Now, as an aside, I hope by now, if you're a 3PC regular, or at least somebody that's on top of it, Marquette Greenway is our major regional initiative, tri-state initiative. Of course, every trail is important. This one is a bit special because of the length, because of the communities involved, because of some of the challenges. But the City of Hammond has more or less completed their segment, so let me talk about what that is. If you're familiar with Hammond, and I hope you are, here's the toll road coming right through here. It's kind of the central part of the city. You have 150th right down here, and at the top is 142nd Street, okay? This is currently, or was, the Marquette Greenway, and where it terminated right here on Calumet Avenue, okay? Last year, they opened this section up, okay? And it's kind of a winding but somewhat straightforward trail extension, primarily using most of the tollway right-of-way. But as you can see in the purple, there were a couple of segments that did go on road and are shared very, very lightly trafficked roadways. It is still the intention of the City of Hammond one of these days to get these paved, especially in this corridor, because they had such a difficult time working with the tollway authority at that area. So much so that they just went ahead and they said, we're just going to put an on-road segment, and we'll come back later and work on off-road. But again, what you have here is a city park, a very lightly used adjacent roadway. It doesn't connect. People don't use this road for anything except for accessing the park, so it made sense. But there's plenty of room to put the trail in there eventually. These are side paths that are along existing roadways and again, shared route. So it winds itself through from 142nd and it terminates right here at 150th. Let me see if I have my clicker working. Yep, this little segment here. It will continue from 150th and then make its way into East Chicago. This segment will remain unbuilt until we get the East Chicago segment completed, or at least online for a letting. Right now that is funded. It's funded from the tollway vicinity and to Roxana Marsh and to Indianapolis Boulevard in the city of East Chicago. So we have that funded, and this will be done by the city of Hammond at that time to connect those segments. So here it is, pretty much the only couple slides I have on the project itself. As you can see, utilized not only the tollway right-of-way, but also the NIPSCO right-of-way in there. NIPSCO has been a very good friend of trails for many years, and this was no different. Again, the big hang-up was with the tollway authority, but it was a nice day, and I think that was back in May or June when they actually opened that up. Okay, Dunes Kankakee Trail. All right, the Dunes Kankakee Trail, actually the new segment that was completed from State Road 12 all the way to the Visitor Center. That opened up this year. Right here, you have the existing segment. That was in a couple of years back. That's from the Dunes Park Station to the entrance. Right up there, the entrance of the state park. The new segment completed that all the way to the Visitor Center, right there, to the front door of the Dunes Visitor Center. That is a very strong and very healthy connection. A lot of people today and in the past, they've actually parked their cars in the Visitor Center. They've made their way up here. It got a lot of use over the last year. It was promoted heavily by Indiana Dunes Tourism. The lovely trail, we had a wonderful opening day. And there we are. It's great when I can take a selfie of the crowd. And it was a great turnout. We had about 100 or so people in attendance, all the wigs. You have Sklosky here. You have, why is he escaping me? What's his name? RDA chairman?
Bill Hanna.
Bill Hanna. Gosh, I'm glad he's not here. We had the superintendent, Ron Ballman of the state park, and then we have Paul Lautovitz of the national park, Lorelei, and Bob Thompson. So we had quite a few people there, a lot of cake, and we had the officials actually ride their bicycles on a somewhat warm day in their ties. I didn't do that, but other people did. The trail itself, it's a great extension. This is showing you how it comes down off of the bridge that goes over State Route 20, or US 20 that is, and meanders right down the embankment right to the visitor center, and it's a real pleasant ride. It has a separated path on the bridge itself, so that's protected. Everything works out great for that. Eventually, we'll get that through the town of Porter and Chesterton, down to Valpo and the Kankakee River, hence the name. The C&O Greenway, this was a very exciting extension, and I'll tell you about that momentarily, in the town of Maryville that opened up late last year. What we had on the ground for years was the segment here that went back from State Route 53, which is called Broadway, right? And that headed west to near State Route 55 or Taft Street in the town of Maryville. That 1.5 or so mile segment was put in about 7, 8 years ago. It was done with some special Indiana state money, got done right away, but it's, again, led the charge to complete that trail in the town. So what got opened up last year was this segment. Okay, it goes from State Route 53, winds its way under I-65 to Mississippi Street. And that is at the entrance of a larger area. I'll highlight momentarily. What I'm fond of, let me do that again because that was neat, right? What I'm fond of is this little J. This is an extension of the trail that goes right into a local community park. You don't see it here on this map, but there is no access from this very old and very well-established subdivision where hundreds of homes are located to the trail. They would have to get on Broadway, walk a sidewalk, which isn't very comfortable, and come back here. So people living here had no direct access to the trail unless they went all the way out. So we were able to work with the town. This is a paper road. This is the old Georgia Street corridor that isn't paved, but it's a right-of-way. And so it's a public right-of-way. It was paved with the trail connecting to this park. And it's made for a wonderful community connection. And again, the big deal about the C&O is where it goes. Here it is coming into Mississippi, and of course you all are familiar with South Lake Mall. And now we have a study ongoing here at NERC, working with both the towns of, well, the town of Maryville and the city of Hobart, on a plan to try to make this area, believe it or not, more bike and ped friendly. It's going to involve tunnels, it's going to involve fairy dust, it's going to involve a lot of prayer. we hope combined it'll happen. And there is a lot of work being done behind the scenes, some great plans that are being put forward, and we hope to get this trail eventually moving throughout all of the South Lake Mall corridor safely for bikes and peds. And again, this trail being one of the gateways into that area. Now, as for what we did with the trail, here is that park I talked about that Jay hooked into from the trail. It is a side path that goes back to this community. This is their entrance into the trail. The park originally, and this is a very old subdivision, I think it was platted in the 40s, and that old, maybe 4 or 5 acres was just open. There was nothing. There was an old basketball court that had been torn down, a shelter was falling apart, and this is what they get with the new trail. They get an entirely new public space for them, a great playground, state-of-the-art surface, safety surface. You got a great pavilion, and this is one of those great benefits that trails do. It just kind of revitalizes these older areas and communities where the trains have been along there for many years, and this a very proud addition to the C&O corridor in that community. Now, this is the trail that actually runs out of the neighborhood park, a very attractive route, and here's the actual balance of the corridor itself when you get out there. And of course, this is all, at this time, of course, trees have lost their leaves. I got this done in February, November, when they had opened it up pretty much. And you can see straight shot, and it's gorgeous. It's well foliated, great canopy throughout the entire corridor there. Again, it was abandoned railroad for years, but now it has been opened up to the public. And of course this. This is always very important to have these separated grades. This is actually leaking right now. We're going to give them a few more dollars to try to fix all that. When they widened I-65 from 4 to 6 lanes, NDOT, who's been very progressive, and John knows this very well, very progressive in putting in these box culverts on state highways and national highways for that matter. Again, there will be no other way to get around it other than this box culvert. Put in at least 15 years prior to the trail opening. Keep that in mind. So it's well lighted, that is well lighted in there, there's going to be no problem with that. There's even a pole on this side, on the other side with an overhead light, so you have a lot of nighttime safety features there. And again, great separation in of itself. What I wanted to highlight, though, is an issue. I know Phil's in the room from Hobart, but just so you know, I am working with him and working with Miracle on this as well. But it's right there, at the very end. You have this wonderful trail, and it just kind of stops more or less cold at Mississippi Street. And this is kind of what it looks like. The trail comes in at this location approximately, and this is kind of what is there now. So we're going to work with the city of Hobart, and Phil and I are working very closely on this, trying to get a path here on this side because that would bring people up to the hotel, to Art Van, to those areas, the Maribel Plaza, and possibly a trail to continue on to the east behind the Toys R Us and everything else, and then continuing to Colorado and so forth. And above all, we need a crosswalk there. We need something. People are just going to show up. And the hotel, which is just right off screen, and I'm not kidding you, the hotel is just kind of right there. You would imagine, if you're at a hotel, you see a trail over there, you're going to want to visit it. So you want to get that remedied sooner than later. All right, so we also had a pretty surprising project on the Little Calumet Levee Trail. And I am not going to try to describe the Levee Trail because it goes in every which direction. And it's kind of hard to see, but it kind of starts out here at Gary, Martin Luther King Avenue. The solid purple here is a trail. You can see it just kind of meanders. This is actually Gleason Park. But the trail itself meanders around the levee of the Little Calumet River, continuing all the way west. We can come up, we come down, we go around Wicker Park, and then we move along the Little Cal from Munster, Highland, and then of course into the state of Illinois. Several segments of this trail, maybe in approximate of about 5 to 10 miles, were paved last year by the Little Calumet River Basin Commission. Again, this was part of the tax that has now been recently levied for maintenance of the levee, and of the trail itself. For those not familiar with the Little Calumet Levee Trail, it was not in the best of conditions. The entire length of it was pretty much limestone. And much of that limestone over the years had been grown over by grass and has been basically mowed over, and you couldn't even see the stone anymore. The asphalt ramps up to the stone base had also deteriorated and cracked, so this was a great shot in the arm. What I'm hoping to do with this trail eventually is get some of these missing links connected, and it's not seen on here, but right off the screen is Deep River, Three Rivers County Park, and to get that trail extended into Three Rivers, eventually continuing east to the City of Lake Station and even other places towards Portage. So we're going to try to make this another large east-west system throughout our region. The trail itself, this is the Monon corridor, where the Monon Trail is. On the Hammond side, there's the bridge that goes over to Munster, and you can see how they paved it, right there, right along the levee. And again, all parts going east from there. Great job. Didn't spare any expense on it. That's probably a nice 10-foot wide, adequately thick stretch of bituminous asphalt. It's going to last for many years. Very proud of that addition. Now we just have to work with the Basin Commission on signage, wayfinding, and making sure people don't ride in circles when they get out there. Kind of easy to do. All right, Vale Park Road Trail. We have Steve in the audience here, and we have a great addition to the Valparaiso Pathways Network this year at Vale Park. Here's the map. I want you to study it carefully. There'll be a quiz. lots going on, so I'm not gonna try to get you all too busy, but right up there where that black circle is, right up there, that's the Vale Park Extension. Now, Valparaiso, if again you've been following along, is a city that has a lot of constraints, but to the credit of Mayor Costas, Steve, the Parks Department, they have done a phenomenal job in trying to get a system created where they don't have clean corridors to work with. A lot of that has been wide sidewalks along many of their streets, and a network that continues to grow and grow. I think you're at 12 miles right now?
16.
Okay, Isaac. You've grown, yeah? So 16, like you're talking about your son. Oh, he's getting so big. Yeah, so 16 miles in Valparaiso, and that's phenomenal because it was like 0 maybe within the last decade, and they're just flourishing. And now they actually have a trail that is a trail. It's not along a roadway. It's this separated path. So here was the day when they had the opening. As you can see, I was actually out of town, so thank you for scheduling that when I was out of town. So I made sure I was there, okay? No problems. We all love it. It's a beautiful route. It's, as you can see, concrete. You can tell in the background, it's a concrete trail. There is a bridge over, is it Beauty Creek?
Yes.
Beauty Creek, awesome. So Beauty Creek has a separated grade and just a phenomenal pathway making it connect to two neighborhoods that at this point were not connected. Other than they had to drive all the way around to get somewhere through a field. And I'm not sure if you have any nibbles for any new development coming in there. Do you know if any new homes are going to be built in that gap right now?
Yeah, that section of town is slated for a lot more development, actually.
Because of that trail, they're coming. Watch out.
We were close to 12, just really a couple years ago, and this one itself is almost a mile if you consider the bike lane attached to it, so that's how we got 16 pretty quick.
Exactly. So, very good news out of Valparaiso, continued good work, and a trail that will last for quite a few years, being concrete based. So, and again, my preference is asphalt, but if you're going to do concrete, I think you did saw cut joints, which minimize the bumping from the rollerblading and the bicyclists. So, those are things we look for. That's what you accomplished here. So, good to see. All right, now off of the trails, onto some amenities. The Erie Lackawanna Trail has a new trailhead in the city of Crown Point. And if you're familiar with Crown Point, here's the government center. Thank you, Justin. Yes, I'm going to shout you out. Hopefully you have no reason to visit here, like, people at the jail. But that said, this is Crown Point, that's 93rd Avenue, and this is TAP, or actually called Main Street, State Route 55 over here. So the project itself involved a trailhead right in this location and a new side path, a new concrete side path right along 93rd to kind of connect, as you can see with this little bit of green, that continued for another mile or so to Broadway. So that has been connected. What happened was, and unfortunately this is what happens, you had about 3 police recruits that were killed by an automobile jogging in that location. One of the people, officers that were killed, her name was Brittany. And Brittany, this is a roadway that has actually been dedicated to her. And during the opening ceremony, her family was here for the opening as well. They dedicated that to her memory. And unfortunately, that's what happens. So this is what we had for the ribbon cutting. What the features are is this wonderful picnic shelter, which is a miniature of the larger shelter they have at Summit Street, which is about a mile down the trail from here. We also have a roundabout, because we love roundabouts. The interesting part about this is that a real roundabout is part of this project, okay? I'm not showing that because, well, it involves cars, right? Anyway, but there is a roundabout that is just off of this trailhead, getting cars safely to the trailhead parking lot. But they did a great job with benches, with some great landscaping. There's some issues I have with the entrance to the roundabout, but, splitting hairs. Here is the pathway that runs along 93rd, continuing out in the distance here to Main Street. Wonderful project. It's about a 10-foot wide, solid concrete pathway, and should have no more problems between automobiles and pedestrians and bicyclists for that matter. Okay, Pensy Green.
Do you have room east of Main Street? I mean, there are houses along there. Is there-
Well, I told you the trail itself, you're across Main and then you have to go back north to the north side. There's an existing path on the north side, so the homes will never be interfered with. But there is a sidewalk there, so we want to get people multi-use if possible. Pensy Greenway, this is a good one. This was another kind of surprise that just was in the offing for many, many years and finally just happened. And thank you to our intrepid field reporter Bob Huffman for getting pictures out there. But for years, here's the Pensy Greenway, here it is. And right here is Illinois, and here's Indiana, and there's your state line. I had this wonderful ceremony. It was a great opening of the trail a few years back, called the Golden Spoke. Good deal. And it was kind of incomplete because what happened was they didn't complete the trail right there where the trail crosses the state line. And here's what it looked like when Munster came around and built their segment of it. And for years we had this welcoming people to our state. Not really appropriate. So they decided finally to do this. So now you have this wonderful arch here, Pensy Greenway, that says Illinois or Indiana on that side. Hey, who wants graffiti? You want graffiti? It's a lot cheaper, by the way. That's a lot better for your taxpayers. But obviously, a very significant monument in the region. It's not only this gateway, but if you can tell, there is a brick banding right there where the state line is as well. So very attractive. It's on an angle where the state line actually crosses. So it's geometrically correct. So good to see that. And we have this year the Kankakee River designated as a national water trail. We are pedal and paddle. We celebrate all non-motorized in this room. And this was a significant achievement. NIPWA, Zuli's in the room, and her group, Dan Plath and others, really worked very hard to get the support, many support letters, to make this a reality. And now we have the Great Kankakee River as a national water trail. And this is a conglomeration of happy paddlers over at Dunn Bridge. A very nice location along the river. Okay, what we have done in NERC, which you've heard about, we have this nice new map out. I can actually get you one this size if you want it. And then we have all the trail counters in the region as well. 12 of them were installed throughout the region. They're on your stop signs, they're on your fence posts. Again, I am going to get out a more detailed message to many of the trail managers in the region to see if they can also install additional boxes that we will be more than happy to monitor for them. The price for each box is about $400. It would be nice to see something about them. So things we can talk about. It's a very cheap price to get a good read on who's using those trails and when. They're still up. They're up all year. We're getting some winter counts in as well right now. We had that 60-degree day that happened, was it last